So after my last book, my last financial book I read, it was on fire. And the book was pretty good, right? It referenced a lot of other different books, one in which that sounded really intriguing to me, which is called The Simple Path to Wealth. That's the book I picked up. That's the book I'm going to be reviewing today. So hold on, stick tight, and let's get this book review started. So I must say, like, reading this book, I liked it a lot because if you haven't been following any of my videos on YouTube, I have been really into the stock market. I've been doing a lot of day trading and looking at like more long-term investments. This book really kind of gives you insight about the stock market. Maybe you don't know a lot about the stock market. I didn't, probably over about a year and a half ago or so, I didn't know a lot about it. I knew a lot of the basic stuff, but I was pretty out there, right? I had no clue about like the stock market, essentially, right? I couldn't trade a stock essentially if I wanted to. You just buy it and hope it goes up, right? And I'm sure that's just like everybody else. And so getting this book, it really teaches you about essentially index funds and the power that they have against essentially a money manager, someone that's out there trying to, beat the market and make good, ROI on your money. And a lot of times, you get charged ridiculous fees. You don't see these fees, and then you realize that over the long run that you're actually paying quite a bit in fees, right, for them to money your manage. And a lot of times money managers, normally can't beat the market by like 80%, right? 80% of the money managers, and most of the money managers are actually horrible, are hedge fund managers. And so that's what this book really talks about, is that you don't need all those fees, you don't need all those people. Essentially kind of get like a Vanguard account and put your money in an index fund and let it grow. Now he does reiterate a bunch of other different things, right? The stock market's essentially just been going up. A lot of people have been living in a bull market. A good majority of my life, everything has been bull market. And so all you really see is the stock market go up. You haven't really seen a big crash. Okay, back in 2008, yeah, there was a big crash, but again, this goes into everything else with the stock market, and people think that it's going to be a bigger crash coming up here within a year or so is what people are saying. But this book, it kind of goes over those things that, hey, it's going to happen, but the more time you have in the market is better than trying to prep and trying to time the market. It's just getting that time in. Now, is that something I agree with? Trading nowadays, I can see where better entry points are. And so in my mind, it's like, well, if I can get a better entry point, why would I just buy at some random spot and then assume and hope it goes up? If the stock market always is supposed to go up, that's not saying it ever will, right? Nothing is 100% guaranteed. This book really teaches you about the stock market and how to balance these index funds and the different types of index funds, and essentially how you can live, right? It's essentially about how he became independent and how he managed to do that and live off of what he calls FU money kind of thing, because it helps that you don't have to essentially abide by somebody else's rules, right? If you don't like what you're doing, you can essentially leave. And this book allows you to do that. And he kind of gets into a lot of different details too, which I really liked, was the fact that if you are living off of your reserves, right, your wealth, that there are ways you can adjust it depending on what's going on in the world, and because of inflation, and maybe there's a recession or other things happen. He essentially talks about how shifting your assets into different categories of indexes to hopefully combat that. And some days or some moments you'll have more money, and some moments you won't have so much money. So he talks about like those different kinds of things in this book, and he talks just about the stock market in general. It gives you a good in-depth kind of like, this is what it is, this is what to look for, this is how you're going to build wealth, right? You just not overnight. It does take time. It takes time in the market, and that's why he says you should always start young. You always hear to start young and invest. And this book, again, really helps with that and gives you a good insight to everything in life on how to do that, and not to live essentially the way you don't want to live. And fire has been one of those things that I've really been intrigued about. And so I like living kind of that frugal life, and like working for it and keeping yourself in that state, because it makes you think more, makes you be more creative. And that fire movement kind of forces you into that. By living frugal, you start appreciating small things, and then you look for other ways, like of a simple book like this, like Simple Way to Wealth, and then realize that you can put your money into things like this, and then find ways to save more money to put it into the index fund so it can grow more for you. So that way one day you can, if you don't feel like working, you can stop working. That requires that you have to cut back on some things, right? You got to really figure out, like, what exactly are you doing it for? Are you doing it to be free, to live life on your terms? Or are you doing it to build wealth, right? I think there are a couple different ways you can take this, but I do believe this fire movement, this book in general, will help you build that, right? It's another tool for the toolbox that I think will help build wealth. And it seems easy, again, if there is a recession or anything like that. Yeah, you may take a hit, it may set you back a little bit, but the key is not to panic sell, and not to just realize that it's going to happen, and that it'll eventually get back, right? And so this book, again, was a great book. It's great, insightful for anybody out there that I feel has absolutely no clue about the market, has absolutely no clue about index funds and how it works, and how to assemble a portfolio in which can counter essentially any kind of environment that you may be going through, any kind of recession, anything like that. So as far like any cons of this book, I really didn't have any cons. It reiterated a lot of stuff I had already learned, which again I think would be great for someone who knows absolutely nothing about the market, or perhaps you just want to know more about index funds or the market, like myself. So this book was really insightful, and it was really good. And again, I don't think put all your eggs in one basket, but the stock market is a good place to put it, and it's a good place to grow wealth. And you just got to know that it's not as crazy as it may seem, that you can easily invest it, put it in index funds, and can cover you very well. So that's what I got for you guys. If you guys want to get this book, I actually leave it down in the description. So that's what I got for you guys. If you guys want to get this book, I will leave it down in the description below. Till next time, I will see you guys later.